Good morning, folks. Welcome to another week of The Sense of Things with Ron and Jeff. And once again, we are in a wild and woolly, crazy week. Ron's going to cover some of the just, I would say, consumer issues and things like that. I'm going to talk a little bit today about what's affected the markets over the last week and where we think we're going at this point. It's anybody's guess, and it's the summer. We have time periods where there's not a lot of people around in the markets, and the markets move all over the fence. So stay tuned. We'll be right back on in just 1 second. Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. Ron, how are you, my friend?
Good. It happened. You want to know what happened?
Ah,
We surpassed 40 trillion in debt.
wow. Just in
Uh,
time for interest rates to be going through the freaking roof.
Yep, a trillion a month in interest payments.
Good God. It's just amazing. If we ran our lives like the federal government runs the business side of things.
I got to tell you, forget about politically. All the Fox wasn't as scathing, but CNBC, Bloomberg, all they were all
Mm.
basically saying, "Yep, nobody's talking about it in Congress. No, nobody's. No, so if they're not talking about it, how can they do anything about it?" And
Yep.
and they just had another bond auction today.
Yeah. Amazing. But earlier in the week, and we'll talk about this with interest rates, of course, the Treasury came in and did a big buyback operation to pull interest rates back down a little bit. But it's like putting a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. It's just not going to help in the long run. So until somebody gets serious about this and we actually hire some adults to run our government for us, it's
Well,
just
it
not
starts at
good.
the top. The president has to talk about it. The
Yeah.
last four presidents and the current one has not talked about it.
Nope.
They don't want to because they have to keep printing money. They have to do
Yep.
it. So
Yep.
I hear, all right.
Absolutely. What happened this week in history?
Couple of interesting things. 1909, the first race is held at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I
I
think
did
we've
hear
talked
that the
about
other
this,
day.
that if you've never gone, you should go and definitely go to the museum and watch the movie that they show, the little documentary
Hmm.
about the Speedway and when it was built and how it was built. It was very interesting, but I love that stuff.
I can't wait for this weekend too. You got the IndyCar race in DC, which is going to be pretty cool. The 250 one.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be good for traffic.
Yeah.
1911, blazing fast around the world telegram sent 66 years before Voyager 2 is launched. I thought it was interesting. Now, the
Yeah.
telegram, and remember, the telephone was you had one telephone per neighborhood, like you
Yeah.
had to borrow it. And then obviously it went from there. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I know Western Union is still around, but when was the last time someone received a telegram?
Yeah. Yeah. When you've got email and you've got everything else out there, and yeah.
I know it was still going in the 60s, maybe early 70s, but it had to have petered out by the late 70s or 80s. But maybe we'll do that for next week. We'll see.
Yeah.
1911, the theft of Mona Lisa is discovered. I never understood art theft.
Yeah.
There's only one of these. Who are you going to
Where are
sell
you
it
going
to?
to say? Yeah. And there was just a big theft this week in Italy, like four Renaissance paintings. Where do these go? Some underground weirdo that wants this in their collection. And what do? You just put it in like a locked hidden room someplace and you go look at them when you want to look at them. But
Yeah. Look, being a movie guy, I'm not crazy about the majority of sequels that have ever been done, or remakes, excuse me,
yep,
remakes. But I will tell you the 1999 Thomas Crown Affair with Pierce Brosnan and Rene Russo
way
was
better than the first
excellent.
one.
And if you
Yeah,
go back to the first one, it sucked.
yeah.
But the remake in 99 was excellent about the art theft. And he knew it was just for the glory and for the chase of getting it. A great
Basically,
flick.
basically for me, any Pierce Brosnan movie is fantastic. So I mean, he's such a great actor, and he's just got that kind of fun wit about him that is just funny.
Absolutely. But of
If you
course,
haven't seen
Rene
the
Russo was at her peak too, so I'll
yeah,
take that
if you
also.
haven't seen the Thursday Murder Club, which has got some of the greatest actors in it. I think it was on Netflix or something like that. It is phenomenal. And it was one movie, and I think they're trying to do another one, but it's him and, oh God, I've been trying to think, Helen Hunt. It's just, or Helen Mirren and stuff like that. It's just hilarious. And they're so good together.
Yeah, okay. 1920, 19th Amendment ratifies
Okay.
thanks to one vote to give the women the right to vote. And I think this is so funny considering where we were in the first 120 years of our
Mhm.
country, abolishing slavery
Yeah.
and everything else. But no, women can vote up
Yeah. Well,
until 100 years ago. And here's the crazy thing. I got to dig into this. It was only ratified by one vote.
yeah.
Like there were still people that didn't want it. I just don't
No,
get it.
no. And we were one of the last countries in the world to allow women to vote. It's just ridiculous.
If you remember, we had an episode about 6 months ago that remember there was a lot of women moving to Wyoming
Yep.
because Wyoming gave
They
women
had
the
the
right
vote.
to
Yeah.
vote in that state.
Sure.
Crazy. All right. 1957. I remember hearing this story by Richie Ashburn. Philly fan gets hit twice by a foul ball by Richie Ashburn. Here's the quick story. And he's told us on the air. God bless him. He died almost 30 years ago. So he was a lefty leadoff hitter. He was prime. It took him way too many years to get into the Hall of Fame. And he hit somebody in a foul ball, broke their nose while they got a towel on his face, going out, hit another foul ball and broke his leg. So it was one of those take that and get the hell out of here and don't
Yeah.
come back.
No, one of my favorite baseball guy, and I'm not a huge baseball fan, but I went to a Rangers Oakland A's game once, and this
Okay.
is when Reggie Jackson was playing.
Oh
And
yeah.
this one guy, and we were like on the third base line and good seats right down by the field. And this one guy was just laying into Reggie Jackson. Just, yo, you're terrible, like that. And the crowd kind of got quiet for a second, and Reggie just blasted and hits a foul ball. And this thing lands literally within about 2 feet of the guy. And next, it's dead silence. And all of a sudden, you hear, you missed. I'm like, Reggie was that good that he
There's
probably
one in
could have,
every crowd.
yeah, and he probably pulled that one off just for that purpose because he was that good of a player.
1991. Soviet hardliners launched coup against Gorbachev.
Yep.
This was what, a year and a half after the wall came down. So,
Yep.
and look, they're still there. It just, I
I,
don't.
I think they've strengthened, quite frankly, since that time period.
1994, DNA links O.J. Simpson to the Simpson Goldman
No, it
murders,
didn't.
and there was this is how they knew it was him. 1 in 170 million chance there was another person that would have the same DNA. So that's why
Yes,
they
but
had
if
to
the
go
if the
with it had
glove
to be
doesn't fit,
planted.
you can't commit.
That in the glove and but the whole idea was that's why it had to be planted because there was no way they couldn't dispute the DNA evidence.
Of course.
98, President Clinton testifies before a grand jury on the Monica
Mhm.
Lewinsky relationship. They almost impeached him. It was close, but no cigar. There you go. All right,
There we
slight
go. That
delay,
didn't
slight
happen either,
delay.
by the way. Yeah, that
Huh?
that didn't happen either.
Uh,
None of that happened either.
yeah, sure. She said it did. 2004, Michael Phelps wins 8 Olympic medals in Athens. The man was amazing. I don't know how many of those were world records. And of course,
I
they've all been beaten. It's amazing how some of these records that are just shattered, like
I know.
Katie Ledecky on the women's side, and
Yep.
then all of a sudden now she's being beat. So
Yep.
I don't know what the difference is.
It's amazing to me that just over time, people, yeah, it's just,
They were just talking about the 1 mile time is now
hmm,
sub 3.5. It's
yeah,
like 343 or
yeah.
344. It
And
was
I mean,
beat by a tenth of a second.
yeah,
Like,
and Roger Bannister, it was like shocking that he beat the 4 minute mile, and they're already a full minute shy of that, which is insane.
yeah. Okay, so here we go. Bunch of charts here, all surrounding the consumer. And started out the episode, of course, bitching again about the debt reaching 40 trillion. Now we've showed similar charts like this in the past, and for the most part, yeah, not good.
Yeah.
This goes back 25 years, and it's ticking up. And you can
Mhm.
see the red and the orange. This is severe derogatory, well past 180, 120. So it's probably closer to 180 or never paid. Not good.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, if you'll take a look at prior, this was the financial crisis. And obviously, we all
Mm.
know it got bad. It came down following COVID. And then obviously, we're ticking back up again. I know we've said this before. At some point, this will mean something, but
Mm.
then just looking transition into delinquency by loan. Now, this was interesting. I thought the student debt was just gonna get crazy because if you think about it too, look when it started to come down. This was past the point where the forgiveness, now not the
Yeah.
forgiveness of the loan, but the abatement, the delay on the
Mm.
loan payment. So I thought that this was interesting, but just could look at it the right. Credit card is still high. It remains high, not only past 30, but past 60, by past 90 days too. What are your thoughts on this?
I think it's interesting that student loan debt is literally is the highest most of the time, which tells you that you look at what that period of time is when it really has become the highest is right around the time that the government decided to get into the student loan business and boot all the private loan lenders out. Yeah, how has this worked out for us? Thank you, government. You haven't helped. All you've done is raise the price of education because basically they can do whatever they want because the government will backstop it. And now you've made it the highest amount of delinquency of anything. And you wonder why all the socialists are winning because you got all these idiots that went to college and spent a fortune on college with the government saying, hey, you can do whatever you want. And now they don't have jobs
I
or they
find
don't
it,
have jobs enough to pay for this stuff.
and I find it interesting. If you take a look on both charts, the purple and the gold line, right? That
Yeah.
is the mortgage and the home equity revolving credit. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, if we remember 21, 22, and even 21 and 22 were at an all-time low. So, of course, the delinquencies were going to go down.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why they're ticking up both 30 and 90 days a little bit because if you refinanced at a lower rate and couldn't afford a sub three or a sub four mortgage, what the hell
Mhm.
how do they even get that in the first place
Yeah.
if they're not even paying it? I don't understand.
But here's how I would read that is you remember people were wildly overpaying for their houses during that time period. So yeah, you had low interest rates, but people were wildly overpaying and now the markets have come back. That's what I hear in our market here is I can't even get what I paid for my house. Well, yeah, dummy, you paid 150 grand because you had to have a house and you had to up the size of your house because the market was going up. Eventually it comes back and they can't get out of those houses now. That's the
Yeah,
challenge is they can't sell the house because they paid 150 grand more than they were supposed to.
yeah. And then just wrapping up here to just have more good news for the day. So I thought this was shocking. Consumers say, now look, this is a
Mm.
survey, so
Yeah.
obviously the results can be skewed, but they do take that into consideration too. How is this at a 70-year low or near a 70-year low? I find this to be quite shocking,
I
considering where
think
the
it's
stock
I
market is and the wealth effect.
Yeah. I think once again, and we've talked about this before, I think when you have the media, the vast majority of the media is just pounding on this. Oh, everything's unaffordable. Everything's horrible. Oh, business is terrible. It has to have an effect on that, but people still keep buying stuff. The service businesses, all but Walmart today. And I haven't really read the details of the Walmart call.
It was
Target was
actually pretty
great.
good.
Home Depot was fantastic this week. So people are buying. They may not be buying as much, but they're still buying and they're still voting with their paychecks and everything else. And
Wallets,
as
yeah.
long as people have jobs, I think they're just going to keep spending money, but they're going to feel, oh, it's so horrible and it's terrible about it.
Yeah, and look, small business is what runs our country, right?
Yeah.
The majority of businesses have under 100 employees, and they're at an average for optimism.
Yeah.
If you're looking back at the last 50 years, they're at an average. So it's
Yeah.
not it's
So
not
we're
horrible. It's
what
not
which
horrible. It's not overly optimistic
yeah.
and euphoria, but here we are. We're about
Well,
average. So
and we is
the numbers
yeah.
don't correlate.
Yeah, and we as small business owners know our costs are going up and everything else. That I know as a small business owner, my cost from everything from insurance to the drinks that we provide to our members here in my co-working space, all of that has gone up over time, but it's also come back a little bit. Our It was funny, and I do it from this perspective. This was like a big stock up month for us because we hadn't bought a lot of supplies during the summertime. And so this was like a big Costco run for us. And I'm like, my head is completely around, okay, this is going to be about a $300 run because we had to get everything and all this. And I get we check out at Costco. Next thing I look and it's 175 bucks. And I'm like, it hadn't been 175 bucks in years. I can't think back 5 years from now. I've had a 250 to $300 bill. So it's come back. A lot of this stuff has come back. It's just, once again, when you have the media just pounding on this stuff, oh, the prices are unaffordable. People don't realize it. But my bills at the grocery store when I go are not what they were a couple years ago.
Mine have gone up.
Yeah. Yeah, because you buy steaks every day and
Don't.
you buy steaks with the little gold leafing on top of them. I mean,
No, I
those
don't.
of us we buy pork chops, dude.
I'm talking eggs have come down a little bit, but I'm talking just
steaks.
fruit. Fruit has gone up.
Yeah.
So, I'm eating healthier. I'm getting
Yeah.
encouraged.
That's it. So not have a steak with gold leaf on it. Have an apple.
I like my corn
Your
on the
bills will
cob
go
though.
down, man.
I hear. All right, what do you got?
All right, let me go through this real quick. I had my trading AI put together a little thing for us today. So give me just a second. If I can see where the share thing is. It was hiding behind the screen here. All right, so let's take a look at this. What really affected the markets this week? It was the bond bullies, quite frankly, that led the pack this week. You know, the markets for the last couple of weeks have spent 2 weeks betting on Fed rate cuts and what's the Fed going to do and what's the thoughts. And of course, we had the notes come out or the minutes come out from the Fed, and there were three dissenters that felt like we just need to raise interest rates and that'll bring inflation down, which is the stupidest thing I could ever think of. But that's what they think. That's caused, and I think it's been interesting from my perspective of the difference between the two Fed chairmen, because Kevin Morris kind of came in and said, you know what? We're not going to tell you what we're doing. You got to figure it out. And I think the bond market just hasn't quite figured that out yet. But this week we saw interest rates yields on the 30-year surge up to 5.33, the 10-year 4.77. The 30-year is really a competitor to stocks. So seeing that go up, this is the highest rate since 2007 on the 30-year. Seeing that be that high, that just tells you that the expectation is inflation and it's a competitor to stocks. And I think that's why you've seen the stocks kind of pull back a little bit, specifically some of the big high flyers. The 10-year has a massive effect on the mortgages because that's what the mortgages are based on. Whatever the Fed does has absolutely nothing to do with these rates. These rates are set by the market. Now, we did see the Treasury step in a couple days ago to increase their buyback program. That pulled rates back yesterday, but it could be a band-aid on a gaping wound at this point. And of course, talking about what we talked about at the beginning, 40-year or 40 trillion dollar budget and debt at this point. Okay, with rates higher, when we do bond sales, they're at those higher rates, and that means we're paying more and more money every month to cover that debt.
Not going to
Why all this
stop.
matters to us with safe bonds at 5%, risky stocks are not necessarily something that everybody wants to be in at that point. And even yields are not where they were. Yields on, or dividends on stocks average about 2.7. So if I can get 5.3 versus 2.7% on a dividend, I'm probably going to go with the lower risk investment at that point.
I mean, the bond market is what drives everything, obviously. And the bond market is, I don't know, 5 to 7 times bigger than the stock market.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's
So
huge.
in the end, people aren't paying attention to that. They basically are being blinded or they want to be blinded to what's really going on.
Yeah, when the bond bullies are beaten up on the market, it is one of those things that you have no control over. And it doesn't necessarily mean that the stocks you own are bad. It just means that the stock market isn't pricing, or yeah, the stock market is pricing that in. What we saw this week is definitely AI and chips get repriced. Some of the big names, SanDisk, Micron, Credo, took some big hits on Tuesday and Wednesday of this week, mainly Tuesday, Monday and Tuesday. And it's not a company problem. Once again, it's a rate problem. So higher rates hit those long duration stocks more than they do. And when you think about it, did money just go to cash? It really didn't. People didn't jump out of the market and the big players didn't jump. It was money rotating into areas like healthcare and energy. One of the biggest things yesterday. And honestly, it was a big thing that really I didn't hear a couple presenters talk about early in the morning, and that was about it. But Moderna and Merck found a cancer vaccine breakthrough, and Moderna was up 90% yesterday, a
Yeah, it's
big
crazy. The
company.
biotech stocks, the everything from a mega large cap, mid cap, and small cap
Yeah.
were all up 6% plus yesterday.
Yeah, which I look at my own portfolio for clients and I'm like, I'm glad we shifted a little bit of that. I was second guessing myself early in the month, but we're really seeing that shift out, which quite frankly, I think that's a good thing. I'd rather the market be broadened out a little bit instead of just in the big AI stocks that are back and forth and up and down and everything else. Once again, seeing a little bit of the industrials and things like that, which I think it's good. This is not a recession. This is a repricing. Some of the biggest things, of course, with President Trump, is you love him or hate him, he moves markets. And a bunch of the stuff that he said this week has moved markets. It's pushed oil up. Bitcoin jumped up, interestingly, because they're trying to really push hard on getting some of the legislation done on that. And of course, this week, Walmart today it's down about 6%. Not so great forward earnings or expectations, but Target and Home Depot had beats. Now the market looked at that and went, meh, no big deal there. I think the one real strong thing came in today. Philly Fed was at 47.4 versus 25. And we had another kind of what I would consider now average jobless claim. So this isn't a recession scare. It's really just more of a, hey, the market's kind of repricing and readjusting itself. I think it's good time to take a look at your own portfolio and say, okay, am I way overexposed to the real high beta stuff? And maybe it's time to make some adjustments or diversify your portfolio out.
Yeah, I don't know what gas is. I know it's cheaper in Texas. Filled up last night. I used plus 89 octane, 505 a gallon.
Ugh. Yeah, we're like, I think that here would be about 405, I think. Regular unleaded. But once again, because I don't have a gold-plated car, I just use regular
Yeah, that I
unleaded.
put all my steaks in. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you put your steaks
Actually,
into
I don't
the.
put the steaks. I just buy the whole cow, go home and cut them up.
Oh,
What I
there we
do.
go. And that's
Yeah, yeah.
it. And I use the biodiesel from your cow. I use the
Oh, sure. I'm
biodiesel
sure. Yeah, I'm
in
sure.
my
I'm sure.
truck. But yeah, it's I think our regular unleaded is 380 or 350 here.
I think we got the Jackson Hole next week. That'll definitely
Yeah.
move markets. So I think we'll have our podcast right after that. So it should be interesting.
Yes, because I am riveted by the Jackson Hole conversations.
For
It's
whatever reason,
just
it's a market mover.
exactly. Folks, thanks for joining us here once again. We do these for you. So if you have any questions, feel free to shoot those into our comments section. Please give us an upvote if you can, because we appreciate that, and subscribe to the channel. So we'll talk to you guys next week, and we'll talk after Jackson Hole. I'd rather be there instead of 100-degree Texas.